What's going on, guys? It's your boy John, Liquidator, coming back with a major story. So it looked like WNBA has gathered data explaining about Caitlyn Clark injury and everybody else injury that was affected by the 2025 season. Guys, for this one here, we got to go all the way up to New York. Let's get it. Let's go. Well, it looked like we got some data coming out, man, from the WNBA. Now, I done videos in the past kind of breaking down these injuries for the 2025 season, pretty much letting you know that more than half of the league players got injured.
The WNBA just dropped a bombshell, directly contradicting widespread player complaints and confirming a truly disturbing cause for Caitlyn Clark's devastating 2025 injuries. Forget the long schedules or fatigue, because the league's own data and a shocking official statement point to a far more sinister culprit. They refuse to even investigate the most obvious suspects, essentially admitting guilt by omission. This revelation is set to send shockwaves through the entire WNBA, challenging everything fans thought they knew about player safety and justice. The implications for Clark and the league's future are absolutely massive.
For the 2025 season, pretty much letting you know that more than half of the league players got injured at some point in time this 2025 season. I think it was 151 players, like 91 of them all affected felt some type of injury for the 2025 season, which is mind-boggling when you think about the sheer numbers. Could you imagine a league where 70% of the players get hurt? Like, you know, that don't look too good. Now, I've been seeing the news about Kathy Egerberg being out. I reported on this months ago. I told you guys, when the CBA agreement get done, Kathy Egerberg.
This wasn't just a simple oversight. The WNBA made an astonishing declaration, stating unequivocally that they would not investigate their own referees for potentially causing player injuries. This non-action speaks volumes, practically confirming the accusations laid at the feet of the officials. To openly dismiss an inquiry into such a critical issue, especially after a season marred by an unprecedented injury crisis, is an extraordinary move that has left many demanding answers and accountability from the top down.
That don't look too good. Now, I've been seeing the news about Kathy Egerberg being out. I reported on this months ago. I told you guys, when the CBA agreement get done, Kathy Egerberg is more than likely going to get relieved of her duties. I'm not going to say fired. She's going to get relieved of her duties. They've been interviewing. They've been trying to figure out who the replacement is going to be. I believe they already have the replacement. I'm not going to make a bunch of videos talking about stuff that we already talked about, guys. We talked about this at the conclusion of the season. Kathy Egerberg is more than likely, allegedly, going to be let go once this CBA agreement get done, because that is the proposal.
The 2025 season was a nightmare for player health. An alarming 70% of the league's athletes, a staggering 91 out of 51 players, suffered some form of injury. These aren't just minor bumps and bruises. These are career-threatening setbacks that crippled teams and fundamentally altered the competitive landscape. Imagine a league where nearly 3/4 of its talent pool is sidelined. The sheer scale of this health crisis is mind-boggling, painting a grim picture of systemic issues that have been allowed to fester unchecked.
Likely, allegedly, going to be let go once this CBA agreement get done, because that is the proposal on the table. So in the proposal, from what I heard, allegedly, Kathy Egerberg getting the boot is part of, it's like, it's in there, that they want a new, the ladies want a new commissioner. So that is part of the agreement with them signing off on it as well. From what I heard, allegedly, you know what I'm saying? We got to say that out there because, you know, we're not in the meetings. We don't know. Now, if that is true, which I think it very much could be, it's my opinion, Kathy's going to get the boot, bro. She's just going to get the boot. Ain't no shaking it. Now, something that we...
At the epicenter of this catastrophe was Caitlyn Clark, arguably the biggest name in basketball, whose injury threatened to derail the WNBA's hard-won growth. Her presence was single-handedly driving the genre forward, bringing unprecedented viewership and attention. Without Clark, the momentum would have completely stalled. The entire WNBA ecosystem was reliant on her staying on the court. Her premature exit due to injury was not just a personal blow, but a massive blow to the league's pivotal moment of expansion and popularity.
Kathy's going to get the boot, bro. She's just going to get the boot. Ain't no shaking it. Now, something that we have to talk about, shifting gears here, is these damn injuries. So it looked like the WNBA released some data and an article came out kind of breaking down these injuries. Now, we know Caitlyn Clark was affected. She probably was the biggest name in the 2025 season affected by injuries, and it was just so bad for her that it affected the whole genre as a whole. Caitlyn Clark don't get hurt, the genre will be dead right now. Caitlyn Clark would have just played, hit logo threes, the offseason to be like last year. But unfortunately,
the shocking truths began to surface through an in-depth article from Basketball, powered by The Next, which delved into the WNBA's own injury and scheduling data. This wasn't speculative gossip, it was a meticulous breakdown of official figures designed to uncover the real impact of the 2025 season's unprecedented health crisis. The findings within this report are precisely what WNBA officials have now indirectly confirmed through their subsequent actions and inactions, shifting the blame entirely.
Injuries, and it was just so bad for her that it affected the whole genre as a whole. Caitlyn Clark don't get hurt, the genre will be dead right now. Caitlyn Clark would have just played, hit logo threes, the offseason to be like last year. But unfortunately, the offseason right now is like there's not a WNBA genre at all. Hell, I believe Caitlyn Clark getting hurt affected all of basketball content when you think about it, because like NBA ain't really getting that many views. Nothing is really getting views like that. And I believe Caitlyn Clark is definitely that big of a superstar to have done that. Now, this is an article that came out from Basketball, powered by The Next. It says,
the report's most damning assertion pointed directly at the WNBA referees, alleging they played a big part in the surge of player injuries. This isn't just a casual accusation, it's a systematic indictment of officiating standards that appears to have created an unsafe environment on the court. For a professional league to have its own internal analysis suggests such a critical failure in judgment enforcement by its referees is nothing short of scandalous, demanding immediate radical change.
Basketball, powered by The Next. It says, what does the data say about injuries and scheduling? Ways the current schedule has impacted injuries and how that might get better or worse moving forward. Now, I told y'all when I did my video months ago, I said I feel like the referees played a big part in a lot of these players getting injured. I must say, ain't no if and buts about it. The referees definitely played a part. This article right here stated the WNBA schedule has long been a topic of discussion, and in the 2025 season, that discussion has only grown. The 2025 season, the longest in.
The specific allegation is that referees were allowing players to compete with an aggression akin to UFC fighters, failing to enforce the rules designed to protect athletes. This meant hard fouls, dangerous contact, and excessive physicality went unpunished, turning legitimate basketball games into a free-for-all. When the enforcers of the rules abandon their duty, the consequences for player safety are dire, escalating the risk of severe injuries across the entire league with every single game.
About it, the referees definitely played a part. This article right here stated the WNBA schedule has long been a topic of discussion, and in the 2025 season, that discussion has only grown. The 2025 season, the longest in WNBA history, was rifled with injuries and scheduling problems. Per that, with the ongoing collective bargaining agreement, which what we're going through right now, player health is a rare topic that players and the league should have a common interest in addressing. And injuries are particularly detrimental in such a star-studded league during a period.
Caitlyn Clark herself was a victim of this laissez-faire officiating. Numerous instances saw her subjected to brutal hits that should have undeniably resulted in foul calls, but the whistles remained silent. These weren't isolated incidents, they were a pattern of missed opportunities to protect a star player, ultimately contributing to her being sidelined. The failure to intervene in these moments directly impacted her health, showcasing a systemic problem that left her vulnerable to unnecessary aggression. Even more disturbing is the chilling suggestion that some of these missed calls were not accidental but rather intentionally did this, bro. This implies a deliberate choice by officials to allow a certain level of physicality, perhaps for entertainment value or other unspoken reasons, at the expense of player safety. If true, this moves beyond mere incompetence into a realm of outright misconduct, creating an environment where players like Clark were consciously put at risk on the court. In a fascinating twist, the league's data also debunked a long-standing complaint from players, the idea that back-to-back games were a primary driver of injuries. This was a narrative players had pushed for years, claiming the rigorous schedule was breaking them down, yet the cold, hard numbers presented a completely different story, directly contradicting the prevailing sentiment among the athletes and the public perception that had been building around this issue. The actual statistics were staggering. A mere 19 out of 82 total injuries, representing only 3.3%, occurred during the second game of a back-to-back. This revelation crushes the argument that these demanding schedules are the main cause of player ailments. The data is clear, indicating that while players may dislike back-to-backs, they are not the primary reason for the widespread physical breakdowns observed throughout the season, redirecting blame elsewhere. Based on this irrefutable data, the WNBA's stance on back-to-backs is now starkly clear. Players simply got to deal with it. The message implies that this is a standard part of professional basketball, much like in the NBA, and the data doesn't support claims of increased injury risk. This direct challenge to player grievances removes a major talking point for athletes and reinforces the league's right to schedule games as needed, regardless of athlete preference. Load management was another factor scrutinized, with the report indicating that current WNBA rules make effective load management incredibly difficult. However, even with these limitations, load management was not identified as a definitive primary cause for the rash of injury. This further narrows down the potential culprits, making the referee issue even more pronounced as the dominant factor emerging from the league's internal analysis and confirmation. The 2025 season itself was historically long, adding another layer of complexity to an already strained situation. This extended schedule, combined with numerous scheduling problems, created a fertile ground for player fatigue and increased injury risk. While not the shocking cause confirmed by officials, this context highlights the demanding environment in which the referee's alleged failures became even more impactful, intensifying the overall crisis. Caitlyn Clark's injury also dealt a severe blow to the ongoing collective bargaining agreement negotiations. Prior to her injury, the women held significant leverage due to skyrocketing ratings and unprecedented public interest. With Clark sidelined, that leverage evaporated. Her absence hurt not only the league's growth, but also weakened the players' position at the bargaining table, costing them power just when they needed it most. The trend of increasing injury rates has been a worrying constant, with the 2025 season representing a historical high. This wasn't an isolated anomaly, but the culmination of a deteriorating situation that had been trending upward for years. The data clearly shows a league struggling to maintain player health, suggesting a deeper systemic problem that extends beyond any single season or individual player, demanding a comprehensive reevaluation of safety protocols. While factors like irregular schedules and accumulated fatigue are indeed documented contributors to injury risk, they appear secondary to the core issue. The report acknowledged these elements, but the overwhelming focus remains on the on-court officiating and the league's subsequent refusal to investigate its own referees. This hierarchy of causes dramatically shifts the conversation from systemic issues to direct culpability in player safety. Player health should be the one area where both the league and its athletes share an undeniable common interest, especially during critical periods of growth. Yet, the current situation reveals a profound disconnect. The league's data points to a specific failing, while its official actions contradict a commitment to resolving that failing, creating a deeply entrenched conflict over the very well-being of its most valuable assets. The official WNBA position, conveyed through their inaction and the selective focus of their data, essentially confirms a terrifying reality: the true cause of Caitlyn Clark's 2025 injuries, and a significant portion of the league's injury crisis, stems from lax refereeing and a systemic failure to protect players. This isn't a secret anymore, it's an uncomfortable truth exposed by their own internal processes. Ultimately, the WNBA officials' confirmation, whether through explicit statement or the deafening silence of a refused investigation, lays bare an unsettling truth. The very individuals entrusted with player safety on the court and the leadership responsible for oversight have failed. Caitlyn Clark's devastating 2025 injury and the entire league's crisis was not merely bad luck or a demanding schedule. It was a consequence of decisions made or not made at the highest levels, forcing everyone to confront this shocking, undeniable reality.